CEO is saying, no, we need to stop. And she's threatening him with what sounds like a false claim of sexual harassment.
There are ways to go about this in terms of the myth. And settlement, you did highlight the fact that you could settle outside of the court or the tribunal. In the UK, it's called Part 36 settlement. So how often do you get that? Do you get that often?
Every single case that I get, I speak to the client and I say, what is your goal here? What does justice look like for you? And it may be, let's punish these people and send a message so that they won't ever do this again. And let's make them pay as much as possible. And also, the person wants to be compensated. They're entitled to be compensated for what happened to them. I will send out a letter with a draft complaint to the other side saying, let me know if you would like to discuss settlement. And I make sure that that complaint has everything that I want in it to give them a taste. It's not going to settle privately, confidentially. This is what the jury is going to decide. These are going to be the facts of this case. And you now have a decent understanding of what's at stake, what's at risk, should you be resolving this case now. And very often, the other side will contact me and say, yes, we're interested in settling the case. And the appropriate mechanism in my industry, what people do, is we go to mediation. And I love mediation. I think mediation is wonderful. And we spend a full day, sometimes 2 days, sometimes even a third day. And you go back and forth and you try and settle with the other side. And it's done in a very professional, caring way with parties in separate rooms. And the mediator goes back and forth. And very, very often the case gets settled that way.
So, how does power imbalance in workplaces enable harassment, discrimination, and silence?
Power imbalance is huge. So rare is the case where you have the lowly peon worker sexually harassing the CEO of the company. The way it works is people in power, let's say, express that need to dominate or that power in sexually harassing or discriminating or calling someone a racial slur. And it is that power imbalance which is the base of all sexual harassment, discrimination, hostile work environment, because the people in power are the ones who are able to do it and too often get away with it. So it does play a huge role, but there is a corollary to that. And that is when the person has so much power, it doesn't have to be so much power, when they are a supervisor, any harassment that they do is automatically imputed to the company, meaning game over, you win, don't pass go, you absolutely win your case and you don't have to prove that the company knew about it, didn't take appropriate action, etc. Very often, if the person is high enough in the company who's doing the harassing, then the company is automatically responsible for that. But with respect to the people who don't have the power, the people who don't make a lot of money and they can't just walk away from the job and flip the boss the bird because they're independently wealthy or have another job waiting in the wings, I feel absolutely terrible for these people. They often are the victims. They feel that they can't do anything and they continue to endure this. And let me tell you, call a lawyer who knows what they're doing as soon as possible because they can help you. And that is why since 1866, we have had laws to protect people in employment situations, going back to the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the laws of the 1960s, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, were all of the states enacting their own laws. And the Me Too movement, just people who have a lack of power have so many tools to the point where a lot of these big CEOs with all of this power may feel powerless.
Thank you for that. I was actually going to highlight something I read about a senior officer in a company with a junior colleague, and they had a relationship. The senior colleague was married, but the younger lady was single. She's not married. She's not in any committed relationship. And they were having this consensual affair, so to speak. But what happened, I think the man had enough, and he told the younger colleague, I think we need to end this. She didn't agree. She wanted the relationship to continue. And I think she gave the senior colleague an ultimatum that if you don't continue this, then I'm going to call you out and say this is sexual harassment. Unfortunately for the senior colleague, he had to step down because it was a bit messy. First and foremost, maybe due to company policy, he wasn't supposed to be having an affair with a junior colleague in the company. But I'm thinking, was this a case of blackmail, or have you had anything similar before?
Very interesting facts. The sexual harassment world on its head. You're actually describing a situation where the junior subordinate who is having an affair with the CEO wants to continue the relationship. The CEO is saying, no, we need to stop. And she's threatening him with what sounds like a false claim of sexual harassment in order to continue with the affair. First of all, that's insane. And I terrible for the CEO to have to endure something like that. Look, he's not without fault, breaking company policies. He's a married man. He's having this affair. I get it, of course. By the same token, that doesn't mean that he should be open game to be blackmailed by someone he had a relationship with at his company. It sounds absolutely horrible. I think if there's proof, if it's shown that this is actual blackmail, she wanted to have this sexual relationship with this man and she's only doing it to continuing the sexual relationship, I would fire her. It sounds like she deserves to be fired. With respect to him, a lot of these big companies, they have anti-fraternization policies which discourage relationships between employers and employees, between the supervisors and anyone below. And that is done exactly because of the problems of power imbalance. And a lot of those policies say if you do feel that you are going to be having a relationship and it's inevitable, the companies require something called, and I've seen this many times, a relationship agreement. And it says that from this point forward, that superior will no longer have any control whatsoever over the subordinate's job, duties, anything, separated completely to avoid the risk that there would be any problems. And then if there's ever any problem where they feel that there is sort of sexual harassment, they agree to immediately come to HR. So it does happen. It's very dangerous when you have relationships like that at work. But with respect to this man losing his job because he engaged in a relationship, I imagine it has to do with the fact that he didn't follow procedure with respect to when you have a relationship with a subordinate, with someone at work. He didn't go to HR or etc. So that makes sense.
Be safe and be positive. And don't forget to check out our social media handles. Thank you. Bye for now.